Thanks,
On the
Arvind.
Smarchitect Shortcast, I have the pleasure to welcome Dr. MuckAI Girish, CEO of Rockfish Data, a company that is at the forefront of solving the most critical challenge facing modern enterprises, unlocking the value in operational data through synthetic data generation.
Spent a lot of my time in the early part of when the internet was getting built, especially the infrastructure, part of telecom and cable infrastructure at that time. And then moved to the dark side of AI about a little over more than 10 years ago.
What is synthetic data and why now? What is the hype versus reality of synthetic data in this age?
AI works based on data. So data has become the fuel or the power or the oil that powers it, right? Essentially. So it is really, really critical that having the right fuel or the right data is important for AI to work today. What we are really interested, most of the decisions are all about future, right? What if this happens? What if that happens? And you don't have data on that, right? And that's where the need for synthetic data comes in, where you need to create data that you don't have that becomes what you really could be or what the data could be so that you can make the right decisions and run these models and train them and all of that in essence, right? In other words, synthetic data is data that looks and feels like original data, but it also varies. One is privacy aspects, right? Sometimes you want to share data with somebody and it's very sensitive. So you want to make sure that it's privacy safe. Second, to create these scenarios, you do want the data to have a lot of bearing on what the historical data is. So you can always create random data sets, but that doesn't really do any good for us. So that's where synthetic data comes in. And why now? AI is everywhere. Agentic AI models, AI systems, and without proper data, nothing really works that well. So, data strategy has become right front and center for every enterprise. Even the Snowflake CEO, Sridhar Ramaswamy, says many times, right? There is no AI strategy without a data strategy, right?
Absolutely.
And if you don't have a data strategy, your AI strategy is not going to do as good as what you would want it to do. So having said that, there was a time in which synthetic data was an alien concept for people. If you look at, BC, before ChatGPT, it just
Nice.
wasn't,
There is a term now called BC. Wow. All right.
There
Okay,
you go.
that's news to me. Excellent.
And AD is after DeepSeek.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I think BC, if you look at it and today, I think, and you mentioned, Gartner and Forrester and other analysts, right? For them, this has been a pretty big deal, actually. Gartner, for example, has in their hype cycle for AI, Gen AI, synthetic data figures prominently. It's actually approaching the trough of disillusionment, right? So that means it's going to take off subsequently. So if you looked at their hype cycle about 4 years ago, it was in the initial part of the hype cycle, right? So that it has kind of gone through that phase.